Hello and welcome back to Blackwatch Intel. My name is Crashy, and today I kind of had an interesting question for you. So, as some of y'all will probably remember, I'm constantly talking about some of the Facebook groups that I'm a part of for Overwatch, and I'm just, always looking at the groups and interacting and talking with people on there. And something that I see a lot, because I'm in a few different groups, some are pretty niche, some are PC related, some are Xbox related, or console related. And one of the things I see a lot is the debate about mouse and keyboard on console. Now, if you don't know, and if I'm citing this correctly, so forgive me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure that the game doesn't natively support a mouse and keyboard on console. Like, I think you have to have some kind of an adapter or a modification to make it work. But the simple question is this: do you think that you should be allowed to play with mouse and keyboard on console? Do you think it's too much of an advantage? Do you think that it shouldn't matter and it should be integrated? And I kind of wanted to jump into my thoughts on it as well. So the original kind of comment thread that I was looking at was basically someone complaining about playing against mouse and keyboard players on console. And then another person kind of commented back and saying like, well, mouse and keyboard is just ultimately more effective, and although you are on a console, the console is still just the machine and kind of like the device that gets the gameplay to happen. So the peripherals that are used with it shouldn't really matter, essentially, and that, if it's more effective to use a mouse and keyboard, it only makes sense that people would use a mouse and keyboard. Now, being a console player when I was much younger and then transitioning to almost exclusively playing PC games, I kind of understand that sentiment some. And to me, it makes sense that anybody that's trying to be the best at something would do whatever they can to, get the best advantage. So playing with mouse and keyboard kind of just makes the most sense in that, right? Like, they're obviously going to have a little bit more of a leg up on the players, and it's not technically bannable, I don't think. And so again, if I'm wrong on some of this, just forgive me, but I'm kind of just getting into the theory behind it and whether or not it should be allowed, whether or not the console developers and the console company should make it allowed. Because we've heard of things like, Xbox wanting to legitimize mouse and keyboard on the console, and it ultimately just comes down to the simple question. Again, it's a pretty self-recycling topic. I think where I sit, I think that in the current version of where things are, I think it's a little, slightly unethical to use a mouse and keyboard on console. But I'm more so looking at the future of console gaming and just the future of gaming in general. If it's more effective to use a mouse and keyboard, should the players not have the decision to use whatever set of peripherals they want? It's the same as think of a headset. You get the little crappy $15 headsets with the console sometimes, or you can buy the little crappy ones, or earbuds with a mic on them. But is it not more effective to use something that has a lot more power to it, set of Turtle Beaches, Astros, HyperX headset, to kind of hear the audio better? It's something like that, isn't that right? Where it does give you quite a bit of an advantage over the other peripheral that you have an option of using. Now, mouse and keyboard is a little bit different because I think it's a much bigger jump in that, right? But it is, a question that I think should be answered at some point. So what do you guys think? Should mouse and keyboards be allowed on the console in the future? Do you think it's okay now? Ultimately, where do you see console going in terms of, being a competitive, device? Where, obviously there are certain games like Call of Duty, which undeniably, if you play Call of Duty with a mouse and keyboard, you're going to have a huge advantage, but the majority of the competitive scene has, agreed and has been on console and used the controller for years, so that scene obviously will probably not see much of an evolution in that, right? But for a game like Overwatch that's heavily PC based, and for me, coming from the Gears of War scene, that game doesn't really play that well on a mouse and keyboard. There are some advantages to it, but I think all in all, that game actually plays better on a controller. What do you think? What do you think is allowed? Where should the line be drawn? Do you think that eventually mouse and keyboard will be legitimized for those platforms, and do you think it's fair? So let me know in the comment section down below. I'm genuinely curious. I just thought it was an interesting bit of dialogue to start for the day. For me personally, to just go on ahead and answer the question, I think that it's, like I said, a little bit unethical to use now. I feel like you're obviously kind of cheating in a way, because the majority of players definitely don't have that option or have that adapter or whatever it takes to get the the mouse and keyboard working properly on a console, but I think it makes sense that for certain titles and for certain communities that people would want their best set of equipment and their, their best advantage going into the game. So I think over time, we're going to see a lot more usage of mouse and keyboards on consoles and it being a lot more accepted. So again, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Please do not leave without leaving a like and subscribe for future content. I appreciate it again, and I'll see you on the next video.
Do you feel your bones start shake? Do you feel the earthquake? Do you feel the fire inside of me? Do you see the sparks that I'm setting free? Does the beat